because I have a huge appetite. I was chosen to treat the anorexia of the Shin family's second miss. When we first met, she had just finished fighting with her little boyfriend. She was so angry she hadn't eaten all day. She looked at me irritably. Bullet comments flashed by quickly. Here it comes, the green tea male supporting character. He's definitely going to take this chance to seduce the female lead. Can the male supporting character realize his place? Even if they argued, our female lead still loves the male lead, okay? I still had food in my mouth. I was stunned by the bullet comments. Finally, I silently handed the food in my hand to her. I asked vaguely, do you want to eat some dragon fruit? Led by the servant. When I arrived at the door of the Shin family's eldest Mrs. bedroom, the sound of things being violently smashed came from inside. I heard the miss had argued with her little boyfriend again. Shin Ruyan always had a bad temper. Lawless. Only her little boyfriend could manage her slightly, and this argument caused her anorexia to act up again. Shin Ruyan locked herself in her room. She hadn't eaten for a whole day. The doctor said to find someone who loves to eat to stimulate her appetite by eating in front of her. Madam Shin then found me. I am the biggest eater in our village, eating 4 meals a day, enjoying every bite. She said she wanted to hire me to perform eating and could pay to cure my grandpa's illness, so I came. At this moment, I was still tightly clutching the dragon fruit the servant casually stuffed into my hand. The servant had a headache listening to the commotion inside, so she directly pushed me over. Go in by yourself. I have things to do. I'm leaving first. As soon as she left, I couldn't wait to peel the dragon fruit. I took a huge bite. The sweet and delicate flesh exploded in my mouth, as expected of a rich family. Even the fruit is this delicious. I pushed the door open while munching. My eyes met a complete mess. Shin Ruyan's features were sharp. Her expression was displeased. Hearing the noise, she looked at me with immense irritation. For a moment, our eyes met. Meanwhile, bullet comments suddenly floated in the air. Here it comes, the green tea male supporting character. He's definitely going to take this chance to seduce the female lead. Can the male supporting character realize his place? Even if they argued, our female lead still loves the male lead, okay? If the male supporting character dares to harbor bad intention, he can just wait to be thrown out onto the street to eat garbage by the female lead. Seeing this sentence, I was so scared I stopped chewing, staring blankly at the bullet comments. Seeing me not speaking, Shin Ruyan grew even more impatient. She clicked her tongue, looking at the corners of my mouth stained with juice, then looking at the dragon fruit in my hand. Perhaps because she stared for too long, it made me mistakenly think she wanted to eat too. So, trembling, I painfully handed my beloved dragon fruit to her. Before I could even swallow the food in my mouth, I asked weakly and vaguely, do you want to eat some dragon fruit? Shin Ruyan pressed her brow and said coldly, get out. I silently took back the dragon fruit. That night, Shin Ruyan still didn't come out to eat. I thought I might be fired soon. After all, Shin Ruyan seemed not to accept me coming to treat her anorexia. At night, lying in the room the servant prepared for me. The more I thought about it, the more anxious I got. So anxious that my stomach started growling with hunger, because I didn't get the chance to perform eating. So I only had a dragon fruit for dinner. I was already starving. I couldn't help it. I got out of bed and sneaked into the kitchen. I took a look at the ingredients in the fridge and planned to make a simple bowl of tomato and egg noodles for myself. While cooking, I thought about it and added an extra sausage for myself. For nutritional balance, I sprinkled a handful of greens. Finally, a large pot of savory noodles was ready. The tomato broth was sweet and rich. The scrambled eggs were tender. The noodles were smooth and chewy, garnished with bright green vegetables. I crouched in the kitchen, eating the noodles in big bites. Just as I was lost in the deliciousness, there was a sudden noise outside. I looked up in fear, meeting Shin Ruyan's unpredictable eyes. I don't know how long she had been watching me. 3 minutes later, a dim light turned on in the dining room. I sat at the dining table eating noodles. Shin Ruyan quietly watched me eat from the side. Originally, being stared at so intensely made me slightly uncomfortable. But once the noodles entered my mouth, I didn't care about that anymore. After finishing, I wanted to go get another bowl. Shin Ruyan finally spoke up with some confusion. Is it that good? My cheeks were puffed out, unable to speak. I could only widen my bright eyes and nod vigorously. Shin Ruyan seemed to laugh a little. Why are you so silly? She ordered me as a matter of course. Go scoop a bowl for me. I happily curled my eyes, chewing while continuing to nod. Fortunately, I made enough for 3 bowls. Originally, I could eat 3 bowls by myself. In order to successfully do this job, sharing a bowl with Shin Ruyan was fine too. So I brought out 2 more bowls of noodles. Although the noodles were a bit soft, they were more flavorful, soaked full of broth. I handed her the chopsticks. Quick, try it. What I make is super delicious. Shin Ruyan is indeed the Shin family's miss. Even eating was so elegant. When she took a bite, I ignored my own meal and hastily asked, how is it? Shin Ruyan didn't answer, just said, you keep eating. Okay. I couldn't wait to pick up my chopsticks and continued eating in big bites. I even drank all the soup. When I finished, I realized Shin Ruyan had surprisingly eaten more than half. The bullet comments were dumbfounded. No way. Female lead, where is your anorexia? Didn't you want to throw up seeing food? Now you've eaten half a bowl of noodles in one go. Although, I really want to eat tomato egg noodles too. Watching this late at night makes me hungry. The male supporting character eats so well. It really makes me drool. Later, I successfully stayed at the Shin house. Shin Ruyan had a severe stomach disease due to anorexia. Madam Shin said as long as I get her to eat a meal, she would give me 1,000 yuan. If she ate a few more bites of fruitcake, she could add another 1,000. So for a period after that, I followed behind Shin Ruyan, attempting to coax her to take a few more bites. Slowly, Shin Ruyan finally ate slightly more. Madam Shin was very happy. She even transferred me to Shin Ruyan's school, having me urge her to eat more at school too. This day, as usual, I took a sweet mango-filled mini cake, placed it on her desk, then rushed back to my own classroom for class. From my observations over the past few days, when Shin Ruyan ate fruit, she was willing to eat a few more bites of mango. Once class ended, I immediately went looking for her expectantly, wanting to see if she ate it. However, when I rushed to her classroom, it was in a complete mess inside. Shin Ruyan's little boyfriend was clutching his chest, breathing heavily. His arm was covered in a red rash. Shin Ruyan anxiously asked, "What happened?" The boy looked up at me. With tears in his eyes, he pointed at me. Fang Xiu said I could eat it too, so I ate it. Who knew he had mango inside it, which I'm allergic to? The bullet comments exploded. I knew the male supporting character couldn't resist causing trouble. See, he really couldn't pretend anymore, intentionally giving our male lead mango to eat, trying to make him allergic. I picked up the half-bitten cake and explained anxiously, "I clearly told you this was a mango cake." He asked me if he could eat it at the time. I didn't think much of it, just said if Shin Ruyan agreed, it's fine, and I said it was a mango cake. The male lead, and Lan, wouldn't listen. He just pointed at me and whined to Shin Ruyan. But I just didn't hear him say that. "Ruyan, it hurts so much." I frowned, still wanting to explain. "How could you not hear it? If you don't believe me, we can check the surveillance." In fact, and Lan's slander was very clumsy. As long as I checked the cameras or had the people present testify, it could prove my innocence. I looked expectantly at Shin Ruyan, hoping she would believe my words. But Lan was now clutching his chest, his small face pale, his eyes full of tears, just looking at her stubbornly. Shin Ruyan then cared about nothing else. She held him in her arms with heartache. Before I could say anything more, she lost the patience to listen. She directly waved her hand, knocking the cake box out of my hand to the ground. Shin Ruyan carefully held Lan, irritably interrupting me. "Enough." And Lan has always been straightforward. Would he really lie to me? "You don't need to make excuses." After saying that, she protectively took Lan to the hospital. I stared blankly at her retreating back. A surge of grievance welled up in my heart, not aggrieved from being misunderstood, but thinking, damn it, I lost out on another 1,000 yuan. I silently calculated, how many more meals does Shin Ruyan have to eat before I can gather enough for Grandpa's surgery? Finally concluding, it would take at least 70 more meals. Fortunately, and Lan's allergic reaction was treated in time. No accidents occurred. So after Shin Ruyan gave me the cold shoulder for 3 days, she finally deigned to talk to me again. When she called me, it was already 9 p.m. On the phone, her tone was lazy and casual. "Hey, little dummy, go buy me pear blossom pastry from that shop in Qingxi. Hurry up, I want to eat it. The pear blossom pastry shop closes at 10 p.m. Meaning, I had 1 hour to get to Qingxi. But hearing there was money to be made, my eyes immediately lit up. Then wait a moment, I'll go buy it now. The next second, I heard teasing laughter from the other end of the phone. "Ruyan, where did you find this little nanny? He's way too obedient." Speaking so softly and gently, people who don't know might think he's coaxing a child. I couldn't help but frown, because I grew up in the countryside of the south. Even when I spoke Mandarin, I inevitably had a bit of an accent. Shin Ruyan seemed to be in a very good mood. She hummed in agreement, smilingly urged me, "Hurry and go." So when I bought the pastry and rushed to the location Shin Ruyan sent me, it was already past 10 p.m. Holding the pear blossom pastry, I stood somewhat blankly on the empty street. A few dilapidated streetlights flickered. I called Shin Ruyan 3 times. All showed her phone was off. I squatted under the streetlight and waited for a long time. Couldn't help but sneak a piece of pear blossom pastry. When I made the 5th call, she still didn't answer. I chewed the pastry, sadly realizing I had been played by Shin Ruyan. I don't know how long passed. My legs were numb from squatting. Shin Ruyan finally called me back. Her tone was nonchalant. "And Lan was allergic because of you. He holds grudges. He has a big temper. Don't worry, this is just a lesson for you. Remember it next time." On the other end, and Lan seemed unconvinced. He punched her lightly. "I do not hold grudges." Shin Ruyan laughed helplessly a couple of times. All right, you don't hold grudges." Then she said to me again, "I sent you the new address. Come quickly." I wiped my face, thinking, it's come to this. As long as Shin Ruyan is willing to eat, it's fine. Otherwise, tonight would really be a wasted trip. When I walked to the door of the private room, there were sounds of laughter and chatter inside. I opened the door, and Lan seemed to have just kissed Shin Ruyan. Amidst everyone's jeering, the bullet comments were excited. "Such pure love. Our male lead baby is just kissing, and he's so shy. Why do I feel like he did it intentionally for the male supporting character to see? Secretly declaring sovereignty is too fierce. The male supporting character probably doesn't know yet. Actually, the pear blossom pastry was meant for the male lead to eat." Dying of laughter, simping until the end, and ending up with nothing. And Lan had just pulled away. His cheeks were red. Seeing me come in, he walked towards me. He took the pastry as a matter of course. "Thanks for working hard to buy the pastry for me." He picked up a piece and put it in his mouth, then fed a piece to Shin Ruyan. "Ruyan, you try it too." And Lan handed the pastry to her lips. Shin Ruyan instinctively frowned, discreetly avoiding it. Then, she said with a normal tone, "I won't eat, you eat." "All right." And Lan's interest waned. "Then I don't want to eat either." Saying that, he casually tossed the remaining pastry aside. Going to Qingxi late at night to buy pastry, I didn't cry. Squatting on the street for an hour deep in the night, I didn't cry. Now knowing Shin Ruyan had no intention of eating, my sky fell. Everything from the whole night stacking up. I held it back and held it back, but still my eyes turned red. Unwilling to give up, I picked up a piece of pastry and asked Shin Ruyan, "Are you really not going to try it?" Some of her friends beside her started laughing. "Your little nanny is too obedient. You just said you wanted pear blossom pastry, and he worried about it all night." Forget it. Just take a bite." The guy looks like he's about to cry. Shin Ruyan's mood seemed to improve slightly. The pear blossom pastry that looked disgusting just a moment ago now didn't seem so hard to accept. She curled her lips, finally took the pear blossom pastry from my hand, and slowly ate it. Walking out of the private room, I finally couldn't hold back my emotions and started crying. Crying while walking to the nearby night market. Through my tears, I ordered a deluxe Chinese crepe. Returning to the villa, I wiped my tears while gnawing on the crepe. A housekeeper was startled and hurriedly brought me inside. During this time, I had become familiar with them. She sighed. "Why are you crying while eating a crepe?" It's so good it makes me cry. Holding the crepe in my mouth, sniffing. I couldn't help but complain. So much of the pear blossom pastry was wasted. She wasn't even willing to eat it, just playing me. The housekeeper understood. She sighed heavily and led me into the living room. However, a strange woman was sitting in the living room today. She was wearing a haute couture dress. Hearing our conversation, a pair of cold, deep eyes quietly looked towards me. The housekeeper hurriedly introduced Eldest Mississippi. This is the person Madam hired to treat Miss Shin's anorexia. Speaking ill of Shin Ruyan behind her back and being heard by her sister, I couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. I said softly, "Hello." The woman just looked at me plainly, nodding slightly. The housekeeper looked at the crepe in my hand disapprovingly. "How is just a crepe enough? What else do you want to eat? I'll make it for you." I blinked. I also want wontons. Soon, the wontons were served, steaming hot, pairing perfectly with the crepe. My appetite greatly increased, and I immediately started eating. But soon, I felt in the living room that probing gaze fell upon me. After a while, she walked towards me. She didn't speak, just watched me eat from beside me. My cheeks were puffed out, too busy eating to speak, so I just looked at her with confused eyes. After waiting a while, she finally spoke. "What price did mother offer you?" 1,000 per meal I get Shin Ruyan to eat. She seemed to laugh upon hearing this, and asked me, "Do you mind taking on another job? Remind me to eat on time, and eat with me. How about 10,000 a meal?" My eyes widened in shock, almost choking. Her fingertips moved, ultimately unable to resist, reaching out to gently pinch the flesh on my cheek. Seeing me remain silent, she thought for a moment. "Too little? Then 20,000. She was as calm as if discussing an economic contract. "I don't have anorexia. I'll eat the food you bring on time, and I won't make you cry. Deal?" After a while, I asked her with wide eyes. "Really?" She nodded. "I won't lie to you." Later, I found out from the servants. These two daughters of the Shin family. Shin Ruyan has anorexia, while Shan Buyu is a total workaholic. Shan Buyu, the older sister, although only 4 years older than Shin Ruyan, had successfully started a business in college and took over the family enterprise straight after graduation. She often forgets to eat because she's immersed in work, until a severe burning sensation comes from her stomach at night. Does she belatedly realize she hasn't eaten? In the end, our cooperation was sealed at 10,000 yuan a meal. Now with Shan Buyu as a major client, I can save enough money much faster and get grandpa better medical treatment. For the next 3 days, Shin Ruyan didn't seek me out. This time, I didn't actively approach her for money either. Instead, I took the opportunity to learn more about Shin Buyu's dietary preferences. On the 4th day, I returned to the classroom after eating. Most people had gone for their lunch break, and Shin Ruyan, who I hadn't communicated with for days, was currently sitting lazily in my seat. Seeing me, she raised an eyebrow slightly. "Been busy lately? Why didn't you come looking for me?" I walked over, not really wanting to talk to her. Shin Ruyan touched my cheek with her hand, curiously said, "Are you angry?" I took out my textbooks, still not speaking. She had been pampered since childhood, probably rarely hitting a wall. For a moment, she stopped talking too. Another minute passed. An exquisite box of pastries was silently pushed onto my textbook. Next to it was a piece of milk crate cake that I love. I finally looked at her. "Are you apologizing?" "Apologize." Shin Ruyan froze. That word didn't exist in her life's dictionary. Even when arguing with Enlon, it was always him who yielded first. Shin Ruyan didn't answer my question, just said, "Bought it for you," then naturally issued an order. "Little dummy, let's eat together tonight." I didn't expect Shin Ruyan to actively plan to eat. It felt like 1,000 yuan was waving at me. "All right," I sighed, not wanting to dwell on the matter. After all, who would go against money? The freshly baked cookies smelled amazing. They were also sprinkled with crushed nuts. I stuffed one in my mouth, and my eyes immediately lit up. Chew, chew, chew. Delicious. I took another bite, eating more than half of them. Only then did I notice Shin Ruyan was still sitting next to me, not having left. I thought about it, took out a cookie and handed it to her, casually asking without hope, "Do you want one?" Shin Ruyan looked down, seeing the slender fingers holding the buttery yellow cookie. It looked surprisingly tempting. A light laugh escaped her throat. Then, she lowered her head slightly. Her lips gently brushed against my fingertips, sending a warm sensation. I abruptly pulled my hand back, immediately putting distance between us, frowning somewhat disapprovingly. The next second, the cream cake beside me vanished and smashed directly into my hair. Sticky cream tangled in my hair and slowly slid to the floor. And Lan's sharp, piercing voice rang out, "Don't you love eating? I'll let you eat your fill." I raised my hand and slowly wiped my cheek, wiping off a handful of cake and jam mixture. The male lead is so dominant. The male supporting character seducing someone else's girlfriend every day. What is that? Look how angry he made our male lead. Although, I feel like the male supporting character didn't even do anything. Previous poster stopped defending him. Feeding someone else's girlfriend. If that's not seduction, what is? I only froze for a second. Then I reacted. Directly picked up the full glass of water nearby and splashed it hard back at Enlon. Ultimately, that glass of water all splashed onto Shin Ruyan. The bullet comments were jubilant. The female lead protecting her man is so cool. It was her complete subconscious reaction. I ship it so hard. Dying of laughter. The male supporting character looks like this now. Like a clown. Everything happened in a flash. Shin Ruyan's face went blank for a second. By the time she reacted, she saw me wretchedly covered in cream and jam, while Enlon was completely unharmed, aggrieved, with red eyes, hiding behind her. "Ruyan, thank you. If it weren't for you, I definitely would have looked awful just now." This time, Shin Ruyan didn't respond to Enlon immediately. She just looked at me. A few seconds later, she frowned and spoke. "Enlon is immature. Don't mind him." Enlon pouted, a bit unconvinced. "What's there to feel sorry about for a nanny?" I looked at them without speaking. The atmosphere momentarily became rigid. Shin Ruyan had probably never seen me with this expression. A rare trace of panic flashed in her eyes. She spoke without thinking. "Enlon is just like this. Don't be mad. All right, I'll help you clean up. I'll compensate you tenfold for the clothes. Saying that, she reached out to me, but I just extremely calmly avoided it. No need. Shin Ruyan rarely softened her tone. Then tonight, I'll have the housekeeper make some dishes you love. We'll eat together. I looked up, seriously looking into her eyes. Word by word, I said, no need. Never again. Standing at the school gate, I couldn't help feeling a bit lost. For a moment, I didn't know where to go. I suddenly remembered. It seemed I hadn't eaten Grandpa's wood-fired rice in a very long time. While I was zoning out, a low-profile yet luxurious car slowly stopped in front of me. The rear window rolled down. The woman in the car looked at me. How did you end up like this? I momentarily forgot my sadness, feeling a bit surprised. Shouldn't Shinbuyu be working at this hour? Why are you here? I figured you might have run into some trouble. As she spoke, the driver got out and opened the door for me. Inside the car, Shinbuyu took out a handkerchief and meticulously wiped my hair clean, then gently wiped my cheek. Inexplicably, it tickled a bit. She ended up taking me to her private apartment and told me to take a shower. When I came out from the shower, Shinbuyu's assistant happened to be delivering food at the door, saying seriously, Mr. Fong, I'll leave it to you to deliver the food to CEO Shin. I nodded in confusion. The assistant then let out a big sigh of relief, wearily patting my shoulder. Good luck, Mr. Fong. Without thinking much, I planned to go to the study to call Shinbuyu to eat. When I went in, I realized she seemed to be in a video conference. I couldn't help but recall the housekeeper's words, saying Shinbuyu hated being disturbed while working the most. As I was hesitating, Shinbuyu looked towards me. Since I was already there, I had to bite the bullet and say, Miss Shin, it's time for you to eat. As soon as the words fell, the video meeting went quiet. Shinbuyu, however, looked normal, saying indifferently to the meeting, that's all for today's meeting. And with that, closed her laptop. The food was already set on the dining table. Shinbuyu's way of eating was vastly different from mine. She ate gently and elegantly, and she wasn't a picky eater with anorexia like Shinruyan. It was pleasing to watch. I couldn't help but think the assistant was making a big fuss over nothing. Shinbuyu was clearly very obedient, eating right on time. Perhaps because I had been looking at her for too long. Shinbuyu finally put down her chopsticks and looked at me. Still sad? I was stunned for a moment, unable to react. She then comforted me. And Lon, regarding the mango allergy, I've already had someone pull the surveillance footage. That it wasn't your fault. I've already sent that piece of footage to Shin Ruyan's phone. Whether she believes it is her business. Fong Xiu. But you needed it clarified. I was in a daze. I didn't expect she would silently handle this matter for me. After a long while, I murmured, thank you. Shinbuyu thought for a moment, and who knows where she conjured up a little cake from, asking, eat it? I knew she perhaps just wanted to make me happier. But right now, seeing a cake, it involuntarily reminded me of what happened at school. And with it, my mood dropped again. Not 2 seconds into being down, I suddenly realized, because of Shinruyan and Enlon, I had actually lost my love for little cakes. It was no longer a symbol of sweetness to me, but something that would bring disgust, emotions of anger and sadness. Realizing this made my brows furrow deeply. How could I let that happen? The little cake was innocent. How could I hate little cakes? Thinking of this, I finally made up my mind. Took out my phone and drafted a message to Madam Shin. Sent it over. I'm sorry, madam. I think I am not up to this job. Thank you for the opportunity, but I have ultimately decided to resign. I also hope your daughter's anorexia improves soon. After sending this message, I only felt completely refreshed, as if I could once again, in one breath, eat 5 little cakes. At this time, bullet comments jumped past. Now he's done it. The male supporting character has angered both the male and female leads. He can just wait to be thrown out by the female lead onto the street to eat garbage. Wait, how did the male supporting character end up with the strongest boss of the whole book? He's not hoping the big boss will help him, is he? Although the boss has the ability, how could she possibly be that easy to talk to? Shinbuyu was actually the strongest boss? I was originally vaguely worried that Enlon would direct Shinruyan to exact revenge on me. But now, noticing the bullet comments, I couldn't help but wonder, if I build a good relationship with Shinbuyu, would she protect me? Realizing he couldn't seduce the female lead, now he's planning to seduce the big boss. The male supporting character looks innocent and cute. Who would have thought he had so many crooked ideas? Dying of laughter. Doesn't he know? The boss is even harder to deal with than the female lead. Provoking the boss. He won't even leave a corpse behind. Seeing these words, I felt uncertain again, and the completely unaware Shinbuyu, seeing my distracted look right now, sighed helplessly. The next second, this so-called strongest boss from the bullet comments leaned over close, gently pinching my cheek, guiding me to look at her. In those deep eyes, revealed a trace of imperceptible gentleness. Fong Xiu, stop thinking about Shinruyan. I'm paying you 10,000 a meal. You should think about me more. For the following days, I would deliver meals to Shinbuyu on time. Sometimes it was food the assistant bought. Sometimes it was what I made myself. As long as I came carrying food, she would immediately put down her work and eat with me. It was as if she had paid to find an eating companion. Over time, even the company receptionists knew me, looking at me with awe in their eyes. I was a bit confused, but didn't ask much. This day, I personally cooked a big feast. Excitedly went to find Shinbuyu. However, just walking to the company entrance, I saw Shinruyan seeming to argue with Shinbuyu about something. Getting closer, I heard Shinruyan say irritably, Shinbuyu, what right do you have to stop my card? Shinbuyu, with one hand taking the documents the assistant handed over, casually said, Mother can't control you, so I had to do it for her. Shinruyan, has everyone spoiled you so much recently that you think you're above the law? Shinruyan always refused to be disciplined, and wanted to say something more. I stood to the side feeling a bit awkward, only able to say softly, Miss Shin, I'll wait for you over here. As soon as I spoke, both women looked towards me. Shinruyan's previously gloomy expression vanished upon seeing me. She raised her eyebrows and said to Shinbuyu, my little dummy came to find me. I don't have time for your nonsense. Saying that, she walked towards me, somewhat disdainfully took the food from my hand, but her eyes were bright. Hey, little dummy finally deigned to acknowledge me. You haven't come to eat with me for days. Didn't reply to my messages either. Gotten brave, haven't you? The food the servants make is so disgusting. I can't eat without you. She opened the food container, happily narrowing her eyes. You made this for me yourself? Alright, then I quietly took the food container back from her hand. Sorry, this is not for you. She raised an eyebrow, amused. What, is my surname not Shin? I was a bit confused, not understanding why she would think that, but still said, this is for your sister, and I won't come looking for you to eat anymore. After saying that, I took the food container, planning to turn and leave. Shinruyan violently grabbed my wrist, frowning. What do you mean? Explain it clearly. The confusion in her eyes didn't seem fake. I held it in, but finally couldn't help asking. Did you see that surveillance footage? What footage? You didn't receive it? Shinruyan thought for a second. A few days ago, Anlan accidentally broke my phone. All the chat history is gone. You sent me a message? I gave her a complicated look. It's nothing. Whether Shinruyan saw the surveillance footage or not, it seemed it no longer mattered to me. Shinruyan's brow furrowed tighter. Her heart felt empty, bringing an inexplicable panic. I just pulled free from her hand and continued. There will be other people to eat with you in the future. You don't need to message me anymore. I felt I had explained it clearly enough. Soon someone new would come to treat her anorexia. She wouldn't have any further interaction with me either. Having resolved this, I also sighed with relief inside, so I paid no more mind to Shinruyan and excitedly jogged over to Shun Buyu. Spending time with her lately made me less afraid of her. Although Shun Buyu spoke little, she responded to every sentence, as if she could tolerate everything about me. I eagerly said, "Tada! Guess what I made today?" Shun Buyu took the food container from my hand, followed my lead and thought for 2 seconds, and said gently, "Cola chicken wings." I was shocked. How did you know? You told me the day before yesterday that the cola chicken wings you make are very delicious. I didn't expect a casually spoken remark she would actually remember. You guessed right. Then I can let you eat a few more. Shun Buyu laughed too. Thank you for the reward, Master Feng Xiu. I like it very much. Going upstairs with Shun Buyu, I accidentally looked down and noticed Shinruyan was still standing downstairs. She gazed in the direction I left, seeming to be in a daze. In the following days, I attended classes while keeping Shin Buyu company for meals. Today, while doing papers in the classroom, I heard classmates nearby discussing, saying Anlan and Shinruyan had a huge fight and then broke up. Anlan ended up transferring somewhere else. I didn't pay much attention and kept doing my exam papers. While I was calculating, a classmate beside me tapped my shoulder. Feng Xiu, Shinruyan is outside looking for you. I looked up outside and met Shinruyan's somewhat exhausted eyes. She stood at the door, with a look that if I didn't go out, she wouldn't leave. With no choice, I had to go out and ask her what's wrong. Shinruyan stared at me for a long while and said hoarsely, "Feng Xiu, I'm sorry. I recovered the chat history and saw that surveillance footage. Wronging you before was my fault." I was slightly stunned. I didn't expect it was about this matter. The normally arrogant Shinruyan now lowered her eyes and said softly, "I've already broken up with him and made him transfer schools." Purely psychotic. Who did the male supporting character provoke? When I said the male supporting character was innocent before, you guys insulted me. Can I get my vindication now? I've long been sick of this male and female lead. If it wasn't for watching the male supporting character eat so well, I would have raged. So what's the female lead's attitude now? Why do I feel like she's fallen for the male supporting character? I stopped looking at the bullet comments and sighed. Shinruyan, I don't care about these things anymore. When I followed you to coax you to eat more, it was just to get an extra 1,000 yuan. Now I've resigned. Your affairs have nothing to do with me anymore. Shinruyan looked up, staring dead at me. Just for money? Just for money. Though at the very beginning, I indeed thought of building a good relationship with her. After all, without her, I might not even be able to scrape together half of Grandpa's surgery fees. So her bad temper, her tormenting people, I could endure all of it. It was just that time and time again of misunderstandings and slanders made me also start doubting if I could be competent for this job. Gradually, I grew tired too. The corners of Shinruyan's eyes grew red. Unwilling to give up, she asked me, "Then when you ran to Qingxi at night just to buy me pear blossom pastry?" I said sincerely, "Also for the money." Thankfully, in the end, you took a bite, so my effort wasn't wasted. Later in my desk drawer, breakfast or some pastries and fruit would always appear. Over time, classmates were spreading rumors that Shinruyan was chasing me. When the teacher called me into the office, I just seriously stated, "I'm working hard for the college entrance exam. I absolutely won't date." After speaking, I walked out of the office and saw Shinruyan standing there with a pale face. Not too far, not too close. I don't know how long she listened. I didn't look at her again and continued to the classroom to study. A few months later, the college entrance exam successfully finished. On the day to check scores, I was eating breakfast with Shin Buyu when I saw my score could solidly get me into my target project 985 University. I instantly hugged the person beside me in excitement. "Shan Buyu, I got in. I got in." Shen Buyu protected my waist and praised with a gentle smile. "Our little Xiao is so amazing." When I calmed down, I realized our posture was a bit intimate. She had almost pulled my entire body into her arms. Her low, gentle voice entered my ear, making my ears inexplicably redden. After the scores were out, I also got a large scholarship given by the school, and Grandpa also reached the day to formally have his surgery. The doctor and medical equipment were all top tier, but I still couldn't help being a bit worried. Shen Buyu pushed aside her work and quietly waited outside the operating room with me. I held her hand. My palms couldn't help sweating. I don't know how long passed. The doctor came out from inside. The surgery was very successful. Stay hospitalized for observation for a period. If recovery goes well, he can be discharged. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. At night, Shin Buyu went to handle work and instructed the assistant to deliver food to me. When the door knocked, I thought it was the assistant and hurried to open the door. But I didn't expect the person who came was Shin Ruyan. She was holding some very expensive gifts with a serious reason. I've come to see Grandpa, wishing him a speedy recovery. I had no choice but to let her in. Seeing me not speak, Shin Ruyan clumsily found topics to chat with me. After a while, I saw her off from the hospital room. She stopped in front of me. A trace of nervousness flashed in her eyes. Xiao Xiu, I have something to tell you. I looked at her, seeming to sense something. Then I heard Shin Ruyan say, I like you. Can you give me a chance to pursue you? Although I had a premonition, but after she said it, I inevitably zoned out a bit. Before I could answer, an arm wrapped around my shoulder. A cold voice transmitted over. Get in line. I turned my head and saw Shin Buyu, who should have been working. Seeing her, Shin Ruyan's face sank, almost gritting her teeth. It was clearly me who met him first. What right do you have to be ahead of me? Hearing this, Shin Buyu raised her eyebrows lightly, calmly saying, probably because I don't have an ex-boyfriend. Grandpa recovered well, and was discharged not long after. After a period of time, he said he wanted to invite Shin Buyu home for a meal. His cooking skills are excellent. Although in the countryside, the ingredients are very fresh. In the morning, the chicken was still pecking at cabbage leaves. By noon, both chicken and cabbage were on the table. Fresh coconuts stewed together with chicken. The meat was tender, the broth sweet. Ribs bought at the morning market. By noon, sweet and sour ribs were cooked in the large iron wok. He also simmered a seafood clay pot congee over a low fire. The congee base was thick and smooth. The shrimp and crab were all caught from the small river by the village. I was originally worried Shin Buyu wouldn't be used to the countryside. I didn't expect her to adapt perfectly, and she respectfully ate a lot. After eating, Grandpa pulled me to a corner and asked quietly, when did you two get together? I scratched my head, my ears reddening. We haven't yet. Grandpa was shocked. I've seen plenty of people. That girl definitely has feelings for you. No matter what, Grandpa supports you. So, right before school started, I got together with Shin Buyu. While I was busy packing my luggage, preparing to embrace college life, I ran into Shin Ruyan, whom I hadn't seen in a long time. She seemed to have lost a lot of weight, quietly looking at me for a long time. She suddenly asked, Fong Xiu, if I had seen that footage earlier, would we not have come to this point? The branches were lush, the daylight blinding. I looked at her, feeling a moment of daze, inexplicably recalling that first night we met, the dim yellow light shining on the dining table, and us sitting together. She, with anorexia, actually finished the noodles I made. At that time, I was thinking, this person Shin Ruyan is actually quite easy to coax. But later, if Wen and Lan had the allergy, she had immediately investigated clearly. If she hadn't, just to vent for Wen Lan, left me standing alone on the street late at night. If the cake hadn't smashed on my head, I looked at her seriously, speaking word by word. Shin Ruyan, there are no ifs. Later, Shin Ruyan went to study abroad and had a more professional team to treat her anorexia. The housekeeper quietly told me it was all arranged by Shin Buyu. I was a bit surprised. Shin Buyu sent her abroad. Before I could say anything else, Shin Buyu popped out from behind me, pulled me into the house, and made me sit on her lap, holding me like hugging a child, softly kissing me again and again. A cool woody fragrance slowly enveloped me. While I was being kissed dizzy, I heard her say with some distress, who told her to keep pestering you? Always obsessing over her own brother-in-law is not a good look. I looked up, amused, my whole body clinging to her. I kissed her back and comforted her. Shin Buyu, the one I love the most is you.